Hey guys, this is Justin at the Survivor Review, and today I'll be talking about the next chapter in the Never Hike Alone saga, Never Hike in the Snow, a Friday the 13th fan film. And I've been really looking forward to this. In fact, I've been about as hyped for this as I've been for any big budget Hollywood movie coming out this year, or at least supposed to come out this year. Because, like I mentioned in the review that I just did for it, I really liked Never Hike Alone. I thought it was a fantastic movie, just such a well-made, high-quality film that, in my opinion, transcended being a fun fan film and just became a really awesome Friday the 13th movie. So I couldn't wait to see what Womp Stomp Films and Vincent DiSanti did next with the story. And when they announced that the next chapter was Never Hike in the Snow, like a snow-based Jason movie, I could not wait. I already donated to the Indiegogo campaign and everything, got my Blu-ray copy and my VHS copy secured, so I was all ready for this. Like, the hype was there. And coming out of it, I honestly was a little disappointed. Now, that being said, I actually still really enjoyed it. I thought it was really solid, but I had a few gripes here and there. Some kind of more of an expectation thing on one part that I don't really call an issue with the movie, but I have another kind of like main issue with the movie. So basically, before I get into that, the story for this one is that it's a prequel to Never Hike Alone, and it's about this young man who decides to just take a hike in the woods, you know, to take some pictures for something to do one day, and of course things don't really go well for him. It doesn't turn out too good, and you can guess why. And the rest of the short follows the police investigating the aftermath of that because now the guy has gone missing, and the investigation is run by Sheriff Rick Cologne, who is the cop from Jason Lives, the kind of like asshole one who had Tommy Jarvis locked up in the jail cell and everything. He's back. The actor is back, which is great. And also you have Tommy Jarvis, of course, Tom Matthews, coming back from Never Hike Alone, who is kind of doing the same thing where he's kind of trying to warn people about Jason while also trying to stop him and find him. Now, this is a 30-minute short. It's not 55 minutes like Never Hike Alone, and that's actually what they're planning to do with further installments, because they already have the next three installments planned out, and that's Never Hike Alone 2, 3, and 4. Those are also going to be 30-minute long shorts. They're basically going to be like a web series, essentially. And that kind of leads to the one thing that underwhelmed me about this one, because I expected this one to kind of be like a standalone short, seeing that it's a prequel, it's set in the snow, you know, it's very different than the rest of the series. So I expected it to be that, and it's not. It's essentially like an episode in a web series. That's really what it feels like, because it ends with a bunch of loose ends, and ends very abruptly, which really kind of surprised me when it ended. Not because it was so short, because I knew it was going to be, but just the way it ended, I was like, oh, that's it? Like, I thought those things were going to be tied up. Okay. Because, interesting enough, even though it's a prequel to Never Hike Alone, it doesn't end, like, leading into that. Like, where Tommy Jarvis leaves off in this is not the way we find him in Never Hike Alone. So it feels like there's more story to tell there, which makes me wonder, is Never Hike Alone 2, the next one they're doing, also going to be a prequel? Or are we going to see how Tommy got from there, from Never Hike in the Snow to Never Hike Alone? Or is it still going to be afterwards? I mean, I trust Vincent DiSanti and all them to kind of have it all figured out and make it all work, because I'm sure they had this all planned out already. But it just makes me curious, makes me think, like what's the next chapter going to be like? And also, like I said, it kind of underwhelmed me because I wasn't expecting that. So it's not really a major gripe with the movie as much as that was my expectations of what I thought the movie was going to be, and it not being that. I feel like if I watch it again, I won't have as much of a problem with it because I know what to expect. Because I thought it was just going to be a standalone story, but no, it's just basically an episode of this web series. Now, that does lead me to my one legit flaw, and probably the most disappointing thing about this movie. Because this was hyped up as Jason in the Snow. They're giving us fans what we've always wanted to see, which is Jason, you know, killing people and stalking them in the snow and everything, which is a really exciting concept. But honestly, they barely do anything in the snow. And I can't totally fault them because, you know, snow is not an easy thing to film in. You know, and if you had your whole production take place out there, it probably would have been very difficult and really hard to do. But they kind of marketed the whole thing around the snow. I mean, it's called Never Hike in the Snow. So that was kind of a bummer and kind of a disappointment. In fact, like, if you saw that trailer they released, and you have the guy running away from Jason and everything, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what we get for Jason in the Snow in here. And I really was hoping to see more of that. That just sounded like a lot of fun. I was just imagining scenarios of like, Jason hiding in the woods again with the snow falling and everything. I just had all those ideas like that would be really cool to see, and like I only get a little bit of it, and that's very disappointing, especially with how much they hyped up the whole Jason in the snow aspect of it. Really would have liked to see more of that. The structure of the short is really different and not what I was expecting, in that I expected to be like a short about this, guy going hiking and comes across Jason and he's being stalked in the woods in the snow. I guess kind of like a version of Never Hike Alone, but in the snow, which I guess would have been repetitive, but just the aspect of him being in the snow I thought would have been really unique. But it's really not that. The bulk of the story, like I kind of mentioned, is about the police investigation afterwards. And there's some cuts to like flashbacks to the hiker in the snow. And so that is why there's not as much snow stuff in here, because it's a lot of them just at nighttime just investigating or going to houses and talking to people. But everything else in this short is top notch. Like basically all my compliments that I gave Never Hike Alone, like all apply here. Production value is still strong. I mean, that stuff in the snow, as little of it as it is, looks gorgeous. Like the way it was shot is really beautiful. It's really well executed. And everything else is really well shot. It has that great professional feel that the first one had. And I like how this one probably has to do with the budget increase. Includes like more locations and some more actors compared to the first one that was just, one guy running around in abandoned campsites. And so I like seeing that. I like kind of seeing the world kind of expanded a bit more, and them obviously having a bit more that they could do. And that also like applies to the special effects, which there is a couple death scenes in here, and they're pretty good. They're pretty gory, especially the first one in there is a pretty great moment. That's like, oh crap, and it's a cool effect that they do. That you could definitely tell that they had like a budget increase when it comes to that compared to the first one. I love that. That was really cool looking. And like all the acting is pretty solid too. Again, Tom Matthews as Tommy Jarvis. It's just great. I love seeing him back. And then you also have the actor who played Rick Colon coming back, and that was really cool. He's actually kind of like the main character in this short. And it was really cool seeing him kind of lead the show, and his interaction with Tommy Jarvis, how they still don't get along. Like I love seeing that. That was fun. I like that they're continuing off of Jason Lives, just because that movie is such a fun movie. It's a really great installment in the series. So it's kind of cool to see that storyline continued in this movie. I liked seeing that. And one other thing that they continue off of from Never Hike Alone that I really liked was the serious tone. What I mentioned in that review is I like how this kind of takes the story very seriously. It's not cheesy or goofy. And this continues that. Like you have a whole scene where the sheriff has to go talk to the mom of the guy who went missing in the snow, and it's kind of like a heartbreaking scene. Like she's talking about how her husband left when her son was really little and everything, and so it's basically just been the two of them this whole time. And it's just good. I like that they continue that kind of serious like tone from the first movie, because that's one of the things I really enjoyed about Never Hike Alone. You get more of that in here, which is really good. Also, Vincent D'Assani coming back as Jason. He's great. I still really like Ghost Jason. I think he's just a really cool version of the character. There was an interesting scene with him that's basically him by himself, I'll say, which is kind of weird to have scenes where it's just Jason by himself. It was cool giving Jason his own moments, which is something we never really got in Never Hike Alone, because that whole movie was from the perspective of the main character. But that was kind of a cool moment. It was kind of different. I thought it was interesting. So overall, Never Hike in the Snow is solid, yet a little disappointing. From the abrupt ending to the biggest disappointment being that there's not much action in the snow, which is what I was most excited to see. But for the most part, it continues the same quality from Never Hike Alone. It's still very well made, looks great, well shot and everything, some good effects. That it's still worth your time if you're a fan of Never Hike Alone, or if you're a fan of Friday the 13th. Still definitely worth it to check it out. It's still great seeing like Tommy Jarvis back again, and seeing more kind of classic characters and more kind of like fan servicey stuff added to this movie, which is nice to see. It's just like not as great as I was expecting. But I'm still excited to see where they go with next with the story. Like I'm still excited to see the next chapters. I'm really curious to see how this story will lead into Never Hike Alone, and I really want to see what happens post Never Hike Alone. So I still can't wait for the next chapters in this web series. And yeah, that's about it for now. So until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.